the cost?
In a typical case, parties can expect to pay a mediator between $500 to $2,000 max. This includes their mediation sessions, preparation of the marital settlement agreement, short emails, phone calls, and paperwork. Court fees are usually about $195, but they vary depending on the circumstances, with or without children and so on. The mediation sessions are paid for through an additional retainer fee, and in advance for additional time is estimated by the mediator. The cost of each party's attorney for consulting or to review the agreement and judgment is in addition to the cost mentioned here. Oftentimes the rates are reduced with the attorneys because it's more of a relegated role.
Is mediation cheaper than using lawyers to handle a divorce?
Many lawyers charge a retainer fee starting at about $5,000 for most average cases and bill the client for services in addition to the time covered by the retainer. The retainer amount will be substantially more in complex cases, so the cost of mediation from beginning to end can be less than combined retainer fees would be if the parties hired lawyers to handle the divorce. Typical divorce costs can run 2 to 10 times higher than mediation costs. Also, keep in mind that the cost not only means dollars spent, but the emotional cost to parties and their children who go through litigated divorces. This emotional cost is greatly reduced by the mediation process.
Will our agreement be enforceable?
Once an agreement has been signed, that agreement is enforceable. However, usually a judgment based on the agreement is prepared and filed with the court and is just as enforceable as any other divorce judgment.
Should I see a lawyer during this mediation stuff?
Mediation is not a substitute for the services of a qualified attorney. Both parties are encouraged to obtain independent legal advice during the mediation process and to have their lawyer review the agreement before it is signed. Even when the mediator is a lawyer, he or she cannot give either party legal advice.
Okay. What if my case is too complicated to get mediated?
No case is too complicated to be settled using mediation. Frequently, the parties in mediation consult with outside experts such as accountants, appraisers, financial planners, and attorneys during the process.
What if my case is too complicated to get mediated?
No case is too complicated to be settled using mediation. Frequently, the parties in mediation consult with outside experts such as accountants, appraisers, financial planners, and attorneys during the process.
What does it mean when you say that mediation is confidential?
State law says that no one, not even the two parties, can use what is said in mediation as evidence in court. What happens in mediation is as confidential as settlement negotiations between parties and their lawyers.
What if we can't agree on all the issues?
It is fairly rare to agree on all but one or two issues, but even if that is the case, mediation is seldom wasted. An agreement can be prepared on all settled issues, and the parties can either litigate the remaining issues or take further time to think about them and come back to mediation.
All right, we don't get along all that well, so how can we possibly mediate anything?
Although many mediating couples are amicable and work well in mediation, there are also many couples who are very emotional about the divorce and don't think they could possibly negotiate face-to-face. Part of every qualified mediator's training is in assisting couples who have high emotions but who still would like to work things out peacefully. People do calm down and become effective mediation participants when they see that the process can work without adding to the high emotional and financial cost of divorce.
My spouse is very powerful. How can I hope to be successful in mediation?
The mediator will not allow one party to overpower the other in mediation. If one of the parties is unable to be effective during the process, the mediator will stop the mediation. However, many persons who are considered themselves to be the weaker of the two spouses have been quite effective in mediation. As an unsophisticated spouse of a very powerful business executive once said, "I have the power to say no, and my spouse better listen or we will wind up in court."